Hi, this is Dr. Neela Bakore. In the previous segment, we discussed about the male reproductive system. We saw the structures and the functions performed by various structures. Now, before we discuss the female reproductive system, we need to discuss few more things about the male reproductive system, that is the hormonal control and puberty. So, in this chapter of reproduction in humans, we are talking of male reproductive system. Hormonal control, that means which all hormones are required for functioning of this male reproductive system. So, when we were talking about this primary sex organ, that is testis, we said that testis descend into scrotal sacs in the 7th month of gestation period. So, the hormone which is helping, and in hormonal control, everything which is controlling the, or which all hormones which are controlling everything of the reproductive system. So, descent of testis controlled by testosterone. Then we saw a cross section of the seminiferous tubules which are lined by germinal epithelium. There are two types of cells, the cuboidal cells which undergo meiosis to produce sperms, and Sertoli cells. Now, these germinal epithelial cells which have to undergo meiosis, they should be stimulated. So, FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, this is a hormone of pituitary. It stimulates the germinal epithelium to undergo spermatogenesis or to divide, epithelium to divide and form sperms. This sperm formation also needs another hormone, that is testosterone. So, the next hormone is testosterone. Which are those cells that secrete testosterone or androgens? The Leydig cells. Leydig cells. Testosterone is required for spermatogenesis. So, follicle stimulating hormone stimulates the germinal cells. Testosterone is released by Leydig cells, but Leydig cells should also be stimulated to secrete testosterone. So, the hormone which is known as ICSH, interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Interstitial cell stimulating hormone. This is also a hormone from pituitary, and these Leydig cells are also known as interstitial cells because they are present between those seminiferous tubules in that interstitial space and fluid. So, this ICSH stimulates Leydig cells. So, germinal cells are stimulated by FSH and then by testosterone. Testosterone is produced by Leydig cells, and these Leydig cells are stimulated by ICSH. And before birth, the descent of testis takes place with the help of testosterone. Now, this testosterone also brings about some more changes, and these changes take place during puberty. So, puberty in males. Most of the changes that take place during puberty are under the control of testosterone. First, testosterone production increases. Testosterone level starts to rise. The age when this change takes place, which we call puberty, in case of males, it is normally around 14 to 15 years. So, when a boy is around this age, these changes they start, and this period is known as puberty. What are those changes which are seen in males during this time? Facial hair, that is beard and mustaches, they appear. Hair on the body, in armpits, chest and groin. So, facial hair also appear, hair on the body also appear. Widening of shoulders, the shoulders become wide. Bones elongate. So, elongation of bones, and that is why there is a sudden increase in height. So, shoulders become wide, bones elongate, and that is how the sudden change is seen during this puberty time, and a boyish structure changes into manly structure. So, the boys they turn tall, and because of widening of the shoulders they start looking like man, or manly appearance is seen. Voice box or larynx enlarges. Enlargement of larynx or voice box. So, if the boys are extremely thin, there is a bulging thing which is seen in the neck region. So, this is the voice box which has grown, but it is visible only, it starts protruding, there is a bulge which is seen, but that bulge is visible only if the boys are very skinny. If they have a little layer of fat in the neck region, then this bulge will not be visible, and because of this the voice, it becomes heavy. So, change in voice, it is called, the voice becomes manly, it becomes heavy voice or deep voice. So, these are the changes which are visible or which are seen. Due to increase in testosterone level, all these changes take place, plus testosterone is also responsible for spermatogenesis. Here we have written spermatogenesis. So, because of this spermatogenesis also is triggered or it starts. So, now sperm production also takes place, their body also changes, and all this is happening under the influence of testosterone. So, all this comes under puberty changes, and the age when these changes take place, that time is known as puberty. So, everything is hormone related, and that is why we discuss this under hormonal control. So, now after this male reproductive system, let us see the structure of female reproductive system. In female reproductive system, again let us first discuss the primary sex organ and accessory sex organs. Primary sex organ, a pair of ovaries. So, ovaries 2 in number, that is one pair. So, let us write down 2 here. Ovaries are intra-abdominal. In case of testes in male reproductive system, they are outside the abdominal cavity for a specific reason. They require a slightly lower temperature for spermatogenesis, and that is why testes are found in scrotal sacs outside abdominal cavity. Ovaries are inside the abdominal cavity. So, they are intra-abdominal. Two functions performed by ovaries: egg production. So, they produce eggs by the process of oogenesis, and hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone. So, two functions: gamete formation, that is egg production, and hormones. These hormones are known as female sex hormones. So, these two functions are performed by ovaries, and that is why they are the primary sex organs. All others are accessory or secondary sex organs. Accessory means they are just going to help, but they neither produce the gamete nor the sex hormones. So, accessory or secondary sex organs. The eggs, after they are released from the ovaries, are collected by fallopian tubes or oviducts. So, fallopian tube, which is also known as oviduct, a pair of them. So, one on each side collecting egg from the respective ovaries. So, number 2, a pair of it. Then these two fallopian tubes, they open into one muscular structure which is called the uterus or womb. So, this is one. Uterus leads into a muscular tubular structure which is called vagina, again one, and then there is external genitalia. External genitalia in case of females is called vulva, and we will see the complete structure in some time. So, fallopian tubes, uterus, vagina, external genitalia. What about glands? Like in male reproductive system, there were glands like the seminal vesicles, prostate, cowpers. Here also there are glands. So, in case of female reproductive system, there is a gland which is known as bulbovestibular gland. This gland is also known as Bartholin's gland. Bartholin's glands. We will talk about this again later, but bulbovestibular glands and bulbourethral glands, they are homologous. Bulbourethral are found in males, bulbovestibular in females. They are known as Cowper's glands, these are known as Bartholin's glands. Both secrete mucus. Here the mucus which is secreted by these glands is for lubrication of vagina. And one more glands, the reason for which the human females are kept in mammal group is the milk producing glands or mammary glands, which are called breasts. These are mammary glands, milk producing glands. So, there are primary sex organs which are a pair of ovaries, intra-abdominal, and accessory structures which are basically ducts for passage of first the egg and then if fertilization takes place of zygote. So, fallopian tube 2 in number, then uterus, vagina 1 each, external genitalia and glands, that is bulbovestibular and mammary glands. Now, let us see the structure of the female reproductive system. The ovaries, they are almond shaped. We will see the structure of ovary, inner structure of ovary in some time, and they produce or they release egg. We call it egg, but actually it is not a fully formed egg, it is in its secondary oocyte stage. But because we have not gone to that stage, we will call it egg, and when we come to the stage of discussing oogenesis, then we will talk about this, that this is the stage when the egg is released. But right now, we will call it egg. These ovaries, they are in the abdominal cavity on either side of the uterus. In the abdomen, how would they remain in their position? All organs, they remain in their position. They don't move from their position. So, if you turn left or right, they are not going to fall on those respective sides. So, there are some structures which are going to hold them to that position. One such structure, and I am going to erase it after some time because we have to draw a few things. There is a thin transparent membrane like structure. These structures are known as mesenteries. So, this mesentery is connecting the ovary to the body wall. So, with the body wall, they are suspended with the help of these mesenteries. This mesentery is known as mesovarium. We will draw one more mesentery a little later when we come to the uterus part. We will draw that also. Now, from each ovary, the egg is collected by fallopian tube. Fallopian tube has 3 parts. A part which is broad, funnel-like is known as ampulla. This funnel-like part, or we will label it little later, then a narrow tube, and then a part which opens into the uterus. So, this funnel-like part is called ampulla. This narrow tube-like part where this zygote will get transferred, this is known as isthmus. And the later part of the fallopian tube, which actually opens into the uterus, is known as the uterine part. This wide opening of the ampulla, it has finger-like structures. These finger-like structures are called fimbriae. Finger-like structure, and this wide open structure or mouth is known as infundibulum or ostium. So, we label this here, it is called infundibulum or ostium, the opening, wide opening. These finger-like structures are all around it. So, it is a funnel wide open and everywhere there are finger-like structures. These finger-like structures, they show movement, they move and create a whirlpool. What exactly is a whirlpool kind of a thing? If we take a liquid in a glass or a container and using a rod or a spoon, stir it, rotate it. So, when we stir it little vigorously, we find there is a cone-like thing formed in water. Even in tornadoes and all, the air which moves, the structure is cone-like, and the middle part of that cone is known as eye, and this has maximum suction power. So, when these fimbriae move, they create a whirlpool, and because of which the egg is sucked in. So, the basic purpose of these fimbriae is to actually collect the egg, because egg is being released, it comes down and then it gets sucked in to the fallopian tube. How does it get sucked in? These fimbriae, which are finger-like structures, at the opening of ampulla, when they move, they create a whirlpool. A whirlpool is a cone-like thing in which the bottom of the cone or the narrower part of the cone or base of the cone has suction power, and this egg gets sucked in. The isthmus part is lined with cilia because it has to help in conduction of the egg first and then zygote. Fallopian tube opens into the next structure, that is uterus. Uterus is an inverted pear shaped structure, about 8 centimeters long and 5 centimeters wide. It is not a very big structure, but it is highly muscular and it can expand or stretch. When the fetus grows inside, it can become much bigger, but normal condition it is only 8 centimeters by 5 centimeters. The wall of uterus, or before the wall, let us talk about the areas. The upper part of uterus, the bulgy part of the uterus, is known as fundus. Then the main part is known as the body, and the lower narrower part is known as cervix. If we just look at this cervix, it is a short tube, actually this much tube. Now, if you draw a tube, suppose a tube like this tube has an opening here and an opening here. So, there is an opening, there is no such visible thing. We will represent it with a dotted line so that we are able to visualize that there is an opening here and an opening here. The opening of cervix into the body of the uterus is known as internal os, internal orifice. So, this is the short form, and the lower one is known as the external os. Now, coming to the wall of the uterus, there are 3 layers. The outermost, which is called perimetrium, it is a tough membrane. Then the next layer is of smooth muscles. It is called myometrium. These muscles are very strong and powerful, and during parturition, when the baby has to be expelled from the mother's body, these are the muscles which contract, and the contractions are highly painful, which are known as labor pains. So, it is the myometrium which is helping in that parturition. And then the innermost lining. The innermost lining is highly vascular and it is known as endometrium. So, 3 layers are in the uterine wall. Outer perimetrium, the middle muscular, these muscles are smooth muscles called myometrium, and inner layer is thick, highly vascular and glandular. So, endometrium is vascular and glandular. That means there are glands which are going to secrete some things. We will talk about this, those secretions, what they do, what is their role and how they are useful in this process of reproduction. So, now let us make this endometrial lining here. and the muscles, the smooth muscles. Uterus is the place where implantation will take place, placenta formation. So now all structures have a role to play. Ovary produces the egg and the hormone. Ampulla or the infundibulum, or the opening, it collects the egg. In the base of the ampulla region, fertilization is going to take place. This is the passage for the egg or the zygote. When it comes into the uterus, it will get implanted here, placenta formation will take place. After the cervix, or the cervix opens into another tube, which is also muscular, narrow tube about 7 to 7.5 centimeters long, and its inner surface has irregular things which are known as vaginal rugs. So this is vagina, and its inner surface is not smooth. It shows ridges and furrows, not too deep, but some irregular surface. It is known as vaginal rugs. The opening of vagina, this is the vaginal opening. In virgin females, or in the females before menstruation has taken place, here there is a membrane, a very delicate membrane, which is known as hymen. This hymen gets ruptured either at the time of first menstruation or during some vigorous physical exercises like horse riding or playing football, or during first time copulation. So then this membrane would rupture, otherwise the membrane remains intact. It is a very thin, delicate membrane at the opening. So the structure wise, ovaries, the primary sex organ, then fallopian tube, uterus, vagina. We will talk about the external genitalia, but function wise, fallopian tube, collection of the egg and fertilization and then transfer of it. Uterus is the structure where zygote will get implanted, placenta formation and the complete fetal development. Cervix is the place where the fetus will get fixed. When the baby has completely developed, the fetus is completely formed, it fixes with its head here. Vagina is going to help in two ways. It is known as birth canal. So when the fetus comes out, it comes out through this vagina. So this is going to help as birth canal, as well as this is the site where the sperms are deposited. So sperms are deposited at the lower or back side of the vagina or at the opening of cervix. And the external opening of vaginal opening. This opening has a membrane, a delicate membrane called hymen, which gets ruptured during the first menstrual flow or during some vigorous exercises or the first coitus or copulation. Now if we talk about the external genitalia. External genitalia, in case of females, human females, there is a depression. This depression is a spindle-like depression which is known as vestibule. So this depression is called vestibule. There are two openings in this vestibule. The upper opening is the opening of urinary system. So this is known as urethral opening, and the lower opening is the opening of vagina. So this is vaginal opening. This spindle-like depression, which is the vestibule, is surrounded by two membranous folds. So there is one membranous fold here and one on the other side. At the upper end of this vestibule, the membrane is loose and this is known as prepuce. It is same as the foreskin in case of males. The external genitalia, that is penis, its skin at the tip is loose and it is known as prepuce or foreskin. Here also these two folds which are there, these folds are known as labia minora. And at the anterior end where these two folds they fuse, there is a loose skin like thing that is known as prepuce. And at the base of this prepuce, there is a pointy structure which is erectile. This structure is known as clitoris. Clitoris is homologous to penis. Though in case of females it is a non-functional structure, but why is it known as homologous, or why is it homologous to penis? Because it has the same erectile tissue, corpora cavernosa. So one was, we were talking about the bulbovestibular and bulbourethral glands which are homologous, then clitoris and penis of males, they are homologous. We will take up one more structure and then towards the end we will write down which are the homologous structures. So clitoris is homologous to penis of males. Reason is they have the same erectile tissue, that is corpora cavernosa. These folds, the labia minora folds, towards the posterior side they fuse to form an uneven joint. This is known as fourchette. Outside labia minora there is one more fold, and this fold is of skin. This is known as labia majora. Labia majora is homologous to scrotum of males. Scrotum is those sac-like structures, the scrotal sacs in which the testes are placed. Here these bigger folds, they are called labia majora and they are homologous to scrotum. So there are three structures which are homologous: bulbourethral glands and bulbovestibular glands, penis and clitoris, and scrotum and labia majora. Above this there is a paddy part where pubic hair grow. This region is known as mons pubis. This is the region where pubic hair they grow. So the structure of external genitalia, there is a spindle like depression which is called a vestibule. There are two openings. Upper opening is the opening of urethra, that is urinary system, and the lower opening is of the genital system. In case of males there is only one opening which is urinogenital opening. In case of urinary system separate, genital system or reproductive system separate opening. Surrounding this vestibule there is a membranous fold on either side. These are called labia minora. At the anterior end, when they fuse, there is a loose skin which is known as prepuce. It covers a small triangular erectile tissue called clitoris, non-functional in case of females, but it is homologous to penis of males. On the posterior side, these two folds, that is labia minora, they fuse to form an irregular junction which is called fourchette. On either side of these minora, again there is a fold which is called labia majora, and these labia majora are homologous to scrotum. Now there are only two things which remain, that is bulbovestibular glands and breast or mammary glands. Near the opening of vagina, on either side of these openings, in the vestibular region, there are again peanut shaped glands. These glands are known as bulbo-vestibular glands, or there is another name which is Bartholin's glands. They secrete mucus which is to lubricate the vagina. So, this is just for lubrication of vagina. Now, coming to the next gland, that is mammary gland.